UFC 320 goes down this weekend, and in this video, I'm going to give you my entire predictions and breakdowns for every single fight on the fight card. And there's some banger matchups I cannot wait to talk to you about. We're going to start from the first fight of the night and go through every single fight until we reach the last fight of the night, which is the main event, which is a rematch between Magomed Ankalaev and Alex Pereira. We cashed a big bag on Magomed Ankalaev as an underdog in that matchup in their first fight, so I can't wait to talk about the rematch. We've also got Corey Sandhagen taking on Merab Dvalishvili in an epic bantamweight championship affair. A fight I absolutely cannot wait to dig into. So strap your seatbelts on and let's break this one down. So the first fight of the night is Punahele Soriano taking on Nikolay Veretennikov. Soriano coming into this fight with a record of 11 wins, 4 losses. Veretennikov coming into this fight with a record of 13 wins and 6 losses. Currently, they have Punahele Soriano as the big favorite at minus 220 with the underdog price tag on Nikolay Veretennikov coming back at plus 185. So here we go. This is the battle of the Dana White's Contender Series vets. If you remember, Nikolay Veretennikov was on a Dana White's Contender Series. He actually lost that matchup against Michael Morales, but he put on a decent showing there. You know, Michael Morales ended up winning that fight 29-28. And Punahele Soriano also was on a Dana White's Contender Series. He had a somewhat lackluster showing against Jamie Pickett in a fight that he resorted to wrestling in. And it's very interesting because, you know, Punahele Soriano was known as this big power puncher, right? And he definitely is a big power puncher. Go back and watch a lot of his UFC run, but even specifically his recent fight against Uros Medic. I mean, we'll go and click on his record now, boys, so we can scroll it together. And make sure you're looking at the screen to my right, because we're going to be scrolling throughout the entirety of this show and looking at some cool things together, UFC fighters' Instagrams, maybe some fight footage, etc. But yeah, if we go back and look at his very last fight, he gets a knockout with a right hook in 31 seconds. And he was a plus 180 underdog there. So, I mean, this guy can crack. You know, this guy's got Hawaiian power. I was actually lucky enough to meet Punahele Soriano pretty briefly. I had a little chat with him at the UFC PI. He was with Jeremy Kennedy. He was training with Jeremy Kennedy. I think those two are pretty good friends, and I know Jeremy personally, so, you know, we all had a chat, and he looked in good shape. He definitely looked lean. You know, he moved down to 170 pounds a couple of fights ago. If we go back to 2023 against Dustin Solfus, this was a middleweight bout, and he had lost 2 fights in a row at middleweight. We actually cashed on Roman Kopylov as an underdog in that fight, me and everyone on the VIP. And he had 2 fights where he got finished in round 2 at middleweight, and he was like, you know what, I'm going to start cutting weight. So then he moved to welterweight, and he's been on a 2-fight win streak at welterweight, you know. Had a win against Miguel Baeza, which he basically wrestled Miguel the entire fight, and then his finish over Uros Medic was obviously on the feet the entire fight, was a 31-second knockout. So in his last 2 fights, he's showcased his entire MMA skill set, you know, which is definitely saying something. He's a pretty well-rounded guy. One thing he lacks is maybe some cardio, maybe some durability to the body. You know, as we have seen him hurt a couple of times in the UFC, most notably to Brendan Allen. He was getting hurt to the body quite a lot there. He did survive to a decision. And then also to Roman Kopylov. He was actually finished in that fight, and a lot of that finish was built up because of the body shots. So, you know, the guy's not, you know, flawless. Obviously, he's got flaws, but he's a decent, well-rounded fighter. You know, when I look at this fight, boys, I look at Punahele Soriano's skill set. Like we said, striker, but also good wrestler, right? Not so much good grappling. I didn't love his grappling. But then I look at Nikolay Veretennikov, and this is what I always do, boys, and I'll drop some game onto you now. I mean, this is pretty basic stuff, but a lot of people don't really understand it when it comes to MMA betting, right? A lot of people, when it comes to MMA betting, they'll look at one fighter and see what they do well, but they won't look at the other fighters' weaknesses, right? They'll look at both fighters' strengths, but they won't look at their weaknesses. What you should do is go back and watch some of these fighters if you want to tape study yourself, right? If you want to research yourself. Otherwise, you can just listen to videos like this. You can sign up to my VIP. You know, you can trust me to do the work for you, of course. But if you want to do this stuff yourself, then you need to know how a fighter loses, right? And if we go to Nikolay Veretennikov, and I'm going to do that right now, right? One thing I've noticed about this guy is the way he loses most of the time is by getting taken down and by getting grappled, right? So then what do we do? Well, then what we're going to do is we're going to go back and look at his opponent's record or his opponent's fights and find out, can he do the thing that this opponent usually loses by? In other words, if Veretennikov is always losing by grappling, as we can see here, ground and pound, right? Split decision, he almost lost there. That was all grappling on a Prado side. Does his opponent in Punahele Soriano have the ability to wrestle him. And when I look back at it, it seems like it does. I think Punahele Soriano can get the takedowns going here. But what I will say is that while Soriano is a decent wrestler, in my opinion, he gasses out. In my opinion, Veretennikov has a better gas tank than him. And one thing I have seen is that Punahele Soriano's takedowns get worse and worse as his gas depletes, as you would expect, right? So I don't think that Soriano is just going to be able to free-round, wet blanket takedown Nikolay Veretennikov, because I think that in the later rounds, round 2 and round 3, he's probably going to get a little bit tired. Now, it doesn't mean that Punahele Soriano hasn't knocked him out before then, because Soriano can knock any man out. I'll tell you that right now. He can knock any man out, and that's my true opinion. So while I do see Punahele Soriano having big advantages and potentially knocking him out at the power, one thing I will say is that Veretennikov looks extremely durable, man. I mean, this guy fought Danny Barlow, who hits pretty hard, and, you know, that was a very close fight. Could have won the fight. He also fought Michael Morales, who, as we know, hits very hard, and yeah, he just took all his punches pretty easily. So I can't say Punahele Soriano is going to knock him out. He can knock any man out. He has so much power, but historics show that it's a little bit unlikely, although possible. And then if I look at his grappling defense, it's not very good, right? I don't think it's very good. Against Francisco Prado, he was getting taken down. He's got his back taken, but I think Veretennikov was stronger than Prado. He was just bigger. And that was why he was able to defend the takedowns and stuff like that, or get up from off his back, because he did get taken down multiple times. Against Austin Vanderford, against a man who used to be a middleweight, like Punahele Soriano, Austin just bullied him about the cage, man. Took him down, smashed him from top position, and I tend to believe Soriano is going to do the same. Now, one thing I will say is I don't think Soriano has great ground and pound. Now, I think Austin Vanderford's ground and pound is way better. If we go back again and look at Soriano's record, you know, we can say that let there be light. I realized my light wasn't turned on. I've turned it on. Now you can see my beautiful face, which is not the important part. The important part is the breakdown. So let's get back to it. If we look at the Soriano versus Baeza fight, Soriano grappled him for the entire fight, basically, but he didn't really do much damage from top position. Now, Baeza was so gassed out, so worn out, so helpless in those wrestling positions that the referee actually warned Miguel Baeza to move, otherwise he was going to stop the fight multiple times, right? But in reality, the ground and pound wasn't looking too impressive for me. So, look, boys, I'm going to take Punahele Soriano here. I think that he can knock him out on the feet because he can knock out anyone. But I also believe that, you know, the wrestling path is massive for him. But I wouldn't be surprised with a Veretennikov win here. And minus 220 odds, there's no value in that, in my opinion. If anything, the value starts to move to the underdog at such a massive line of minus 220. So while I'll pick Punahele Soriano, I would definitely not recommend him for a bet in this fight. Second fight of the night, we got Daniel Santos taking on Ju Sang Yu. And boy, oh boy, this is one of my most anticipated fights on the entire card. Daniel Santos coming into this fight with a record of 12 wins and 2 losses. Ju Sang Yu with the shiny record of 9 wins and 0 losses. Currently, they have Daniel Santos as the minus 125 favorite, with the underdog price tag on Ju Sang Yu coming back at plus 105. So as I said in the intro, boys, this is one of my most anticipated fights on the entire card, man. Willy Cat versus Zombie Jr. So Ju Sang Yu's nickname is Zombie Jr. The reason is because he is a Korean zombie prospect. And man, does he look good. Boys, you know I am a bit of a sucker for a flashy striker, and this guy is definitely a flashy striker. Shades of Conor McGregor when this guy fights. I'll tell you that now. Is he going to be a double champion like Conor? Probably not. I doubt it, but he definitely moves like him and fires some of the shots like him to some degree. He just made his UFC debut against Jeka Sergey, where he knocked him out in about 30 seconds, and I bet on him. Me and everyone in the VIP bet on him in that fight. We also bet on that fight not to go to a decision. So we double cashed on that one. And it wasn't a sweat. It was 28 seconds into round 1. And he knocked him out with a not even brutal, just beautiful step back, left hook, bang, tip the chin. Conor McGregor, goodbye. And this guy's a very good fighter, man. He's mainly a striker, but he can grapple. I've seen him take people down. I've seen him reverse position. I have seen him get his jiu-jitsu going. I've seen him take people's backs. He's even got a rear naked choke on his record. He's undefeated amateur, 4-0, 3-0, whatever you want to call it, and also pro. So this guy is, this guy's got like 13, 14 fights, amateur and pro, and he's never been beat, man. And he's a very, very good fighter. On the other hand, we've got Daniel Santos, who is a very good fighter in his own route. And he actually just fought another Korean prospect in Jun Young Lee, and he beat him in that fight. And this was another fighter that we bet on. So, I'm not going to shy away from the losses because I don't shy away from the wins. And we actually lost this one. So full transparency from me, boys, as I always have been over the last 6 years, unlike all of these fraud scam decappers and tipsters online. We actually bet on Jun Young Lee in that fight, and it wasn't a good bet. Daniel Santos shot 18 takedowns in that fight, boys, and basically just landed a better shot, shot 18 takedowns, had way better cardio, and just won the fight. Jun Young Lee put up a valiant effort. He actually rocked and wobbled Daniel Santos really badly 2 times in the fight. One thing that I have to mention about Daniel Santos is that he moved up from 135 pounds, right? So this guy was a 135. You see, he comes to the UFC, and the fight, apparently it says catchweight 136. I don't really understand that because that's just a bantamweight fight, But Castaneda fight, again, catchweight fight, 140 pounds. Johnny Munoz Jr., that was a bantamweight contest. So this guy's a bantamweight. He's not a featherweight. You know what I mean? You go back and look some of his regional scene fights, he's just fighting at bantamweight, right? Then he moved up in weight class, and I think he moved up in weight class because he did have some struggles to make the weight, as we can see here with these catch weights and stuff like that. And I think one of the fights he actually pulled out on, Santos medical issues against Davy Grant. So maybe he pulled out against Davy Grant because he couldn't make the weight. That could be true. I mean, he had a fight of Daniel Marcos scheduled, Said Nurmagomedov, and Davy Grant, and he withdrew on all 3 of those fights. So I'm assuming some of it was to do with the weight, because as soon as he moved up in weight, he makes the weight and, he enters the octagon and has a good performance, It seemed like the weight class maybe helped him, maybe helped his durability a little bit, even though he did get wobbled in that fight. Maybe it helped his cardio a little bit. He put on a great performance, This is going to be a banger of a fight, boys. This is going to be a very, very good fight. Ju Sang Yu versus Daniel Santos. I can't wait for this fight, boys. Honestly, one of my favorite fights on the card. I think a lot of people are going to be betting Daniel Santos. It's funny. They already are, because yesterday I checked the odds and Ju Sang Yu was a -125 favorite, right? And I said to myself, I'm not going to bet anything yet because I kind of like Ju Sang Yu in this spot. I believe in him. I'm a believer in the Zombie Junior. So I want to bet him. But I know I'm going to get a better line because I know that sharps are going to do their tape study and they're going to like Daniel Santos because I've done my tape study and I know what people think and I know what the market's going to think for the most part. Not all the time, but I'm a decent judger of the market. And I thought people would bet Daniel Santos. I wake up this morning, Daniel Santos is now the -125 favorite and Ju Sang Yu is the underdog. So at this point, I think a Ju Sang Yu entry makes sense as the underdog. Where there's the line going to go from now? Now I don't know. I could see it bouncing around. I feel like this is going to go off -120 Daniel Santos or -110. I think that's probably where it's going to go. I'm going to be entering on Ju Sang Yu as an underdog, very, very likely, right? And look, I understand this is a very tough contest. Daniel Santos, very good striker, throws a lot. I won't say very good striker. I will say very committed and dedicated striker. He's going to throw a fuck ton of volume. He's going to walk forward into range. Good recoverability. I mean, he's a Brazilian guy with blonde hair. We already know what these guys do. They walk forward, chuck a bunch of strikes, very diverse striking arsenal, kick in, spin kicks, boxing, elbows. And this guy's going to shoot a lot of takedowns, which is where he could trouble Ju Sang Yu because Ju Sang Yu's grappling is definitely where he struggles. If we go back and look at some of his fights, what's some of the ones that I remember? So this fight against Ronaldo Exon, this guy took him down multiple times, even took his back at one point. It was very briefly though. Ju Sang Yu definitely shoved him off and was actually able to take his back at one point in that fight as well. But he did get taken down, and there's another fight here as well. I don't remember the name of it, but he got taken down in that fight a couple of times as well. So I think that Ju Sang Yu will get taken down in this fight by Daniel Santos. On the feet, I don't think it's very close. I think Ju Sang Yu is a much better striker. One thing I will say is that it's not always about being a better technical striker with better skills. It's sometimes about being the more effective striker, And Daniel Santos, with his durability and with his pressure and with his pace and with his cardio and with the threat of the takedown, his striking could prove to be more effective than I believe it will be, because I think Ju Sang Yu is a much better striker, but I do think that, Daniel Santos has some advantages that could make his striking look better than maybe projected, because at the end of the day, if you got great pace and pressure and cardio, your striking's going to look better than it actually is if your opponent starts to feel that pace, pressure, and cardio. Merab Dvalishvili, knocked down Umar Nurmagomedov in round 5 of their fight. We're going to get to that later on in the full card breakdown as well. I'm very excited for that. It's not because he's a better striker. In fact, he is a much worse striker than Umar Nurmagomedov. Actually, it's not close in the striking. Actually, Umar is levels and levels above Merab, but he got knocked down because Umar started getting tired, And I do think that in round 3, Daniel Santos might be able to pour some pace and pressure on. I understand that Ju Sang-Yu's taken a massive step up in competition here, and we can't necessarily just say the same for Daniel Santos because we don't know much about Ju Sang-Yu yet. But I'm a believer in Ju Sang-Yu. I believe his footwork is so high level. I believe that his striking is very high level. I'm not going to advocate that you listen to this breakdown and put loads of money on Ju Sang-Yu just because it is a massive step up in competition. And sometimes these guys take a step up and they pass the test with flying colors. And sometimes they take the step up and they just can't handle that level of competition jump and they don't perform well. And I do think that is in the cards for Ju Sang-Yu here. But I am going to pick Ju Sang-Yu here. I think he can knock out Daniel Santos. I think his striking is that levels above that he could time a beautiful shot on the chin. I am projecting that he knocks down Daniel Santos. I'm actually very confident that he hurts Daniel Santos in that fight. Whether it converts to a knockout, a knockdown, or a win is a different story. But I'm very confident that he hurts Daniel Santos in this fight. And I feel like kind of confident that he even knocks him down. He knocks him down, So yeah, I like Ju Sang-Yu in this spot. But this is a great fight and probably one of the best fights on the entire card outside of maybe the co-main and main event, honestly. So boys, something else I want to say about Ju Sang-Yu just before we go is he's actually getting in very good rounds with high-level opponents, right? So if we go over to his Instagram, and we can do this together, if you look on the big screen, you will see that I've brung up his Instagram now. And if we just click play, we will see Cody Still, who's a very high-level jiu-jitsu fighter who now fights in the UFC, who we just cashed fade in against. Zurong plus 300, cash me out. And Ju Sang-Yu is getting some good jiu-jitsu rounds in for him. So like I said, his grappling is a little bit lacking. That is where he's lacking. But I know he is putting in a lot of work to get that grappling better and training with some of the best in the world, like Cody Still. So it's something that I like to see, especially when he knows where he's lacking, in my opinion. Ju Sang-Yu knows where he's lacking. That's why he's getting these good rounds in. Something else I want to mention is that if we go to his Tapology right here, we will see on his Tapology that if you scroll down, and I'm giving you boys some game now, if you scroll down, you can see what gyms Ju Sang-Yu is affiliated with on Tapology. Now, it's not always correct. In fact, Ju Sang-Yu does a lot of training with Korean Zombie, and it's not actually listed here. But if we click on Tiger Gym, which is Ju Sang-Yu's affiliated gym, we will go down and we'll be able to see a list of all the fighters that are fighting out of that gym. Now, if we have a look here, you would think that this gym is a complete bum gym because look who's fighting out of this gym. We got Ju Sang-Yu, who's 9-0, right? Everyone else, we got Jae-Won Lee, who's 2-1. We got Joe, who's 1-0. We got Jung Sok-gu, who's 0-0. He's never fought in his life. And we got Gungnam Park, right, who's 0-1 amateur. So it looks like a massive bum gym. But like I said, if we do our research a little bit more, we will see that he's actually cross-training at Syndicate MMA, which is a very good high-level gym out of Las Vegas. And he's also training with the likes of Cody Still. He's also training with the likes of the Korean Zombie, so much so that his nickname is Zombie Jr. So yes, Tapology is not really showing the best of Ju Sang-Yu's training. But if we have a look a little bit deeper, which don't worry, I've done for you and I'm showing you now, he is actually getting high-level sparring and high-level training in. So I just wanted to add that little tidbit in. And like I said, I am picking Ju Sang-Yu for the upset in this fight. The next fight of the night sees the return of Patchy Mix, taking on Jakub Wikłacz, the KSW bantamweight champion, making his UFC debut. So Patchy Mix coming into this fight with a shiny record, 20 wins and 2 losses, with Jakub Wikłacz, on the other hand, having a record of 16 wins, 3 losses and 2 draws. Patchy Mix, the decent size favorite, at -225, with the underdog price tag on Jakub Wikłacz coming back at +190. All right, boys, the first thing that stands out to me about this fight is that Patchy Mix laid a bit of an egg on his debut, right? But now he's fighting somebody who's also making their UFC debut. So the guy who once was making their UFC debut and had to make that walk for the first time, had to deal with the nerves, had to deal with the very romanticized and highlighted UFC jitters, is now fighting someone that's going to have to deal with the very same thing in Jakub Wikłacz. So Jakub Wikłacz was actually the KSW bantamweight champion, and now he's coming in to make his UFC debut against somebody who was also a bantamweight champion outside of the UFC. So 2 champions of outside the UFC organizations are facing off inside the UFC. Like I said, Patchy Mix laid a bit of an egg, right, on his UFC debut. And I was happy that happened because me and the VIP cashed on Mario Batista in that fight. We cashed Mario Batista as an underdog. We also cashed Mario Batista win via decision as an underdog. But that was an easy bet for me, you know. It's because, first of all, Patchy Mix was making his UFC debut. And second of all, Mario Batista is very hard to take down. And if Patchy Mix is not going to get you down, he's never going to have an easy fight because Patchy Mix is not a great striker, but he is a great ground fighter. This guy is also king of the front headlock. Not only the front headlock, he's got a very good rear naked choke, but king of the front headlock. We see here Magomedov, who's a very, very hard guy to beat in general, let alone finish. The only time he's ever been finished was against Patchy Mix. And he's fought some good fighters like Peter Yan. He also front choked James Gallagher. He front choked Yuki Motoya. So this guy has got a very good front choke. I'm mentioning that specifically for a reason. I'm going to get into that when I speak about Jakub Wikłacz. So Jakub Wikłacz, what do I know about him, right? So a lot of people watching this video are not going to have ever heard of this guy because, as I said, he's never fought in the UFC debut this weekend, and he was a champion, but he wasn't a champion in PFL or Bellator, to which a lot of us know those fighters. He was a champion in KSW, and a lot of guys don't know KSW. KSW is a decent organization, in my opinion, pretty high level for outside of the UFC, and Wikłacz was a champion in there. So what does he do well? Well, Jakub Wikłacz is actually a grappler, which is a very, very important point to make. So this guy loves to grapple, Jakub Wikłacz, right? And it's interesting to me because why are the UFC lining up Patchy Mix with a complete grappler? I think I know the reason. I think they want him to get a win. Now, as I always say, it doesn't matter what the UFC want. It matters, in my opinion, it matters what I believe is going to happen because I can pick fights and predict fights much better than the UFC. It's not even competitive, right? I am a much better picker and prediction and an analyst than the UFC. That's what I truly believe in my heart. And as I always say, if I didn't believe that, then I shouldn't be in this game. I shouldn't be an MMA originator and trying to earn my full-time living off betting on MMA if I didn't believe that, right? But when me and the UFC align, that's always good to see, right? So I do believe that the UFC is putting Patchy up against a grappler here because they want Patchy to get a win or at least give him a more competitive matchup because they put him against someone who has elite takedown defense, elite pace, elite pressure, and much better striking in his last fight, which wasn't a great matchup for Patchy, and that's why he lost, and that's why we cashed. So yeah, if we scroll down, one of the most interesting things about this fight is that this dude, Jakub Wikłacz, has actually fought the same guy 5 times. I've never seen that in MMA, guys, where someone has fought the same fighter 5 times. So as I was doing my research for this fight, I found out he fought this guy 5 times, and I was like, all right, why don't I go back and watch every single fight? And I'm going to tell you what happened in every single fight so you don't have to do it. And it actually told me a lot about how this matchup is going to go. Not only the result, but also the specific method of victory. So I'm going to talk you through that. So I'll just go through the fights very quickly. So I couldn't find the first fight. He won via decision, whatever. Let's fast forward to the second fight, which was back in 2020. This rivalry spanned 7 years. Now, Shahbazyan was able to knock out Jakub with a liver shot in round 3 after a back and forth, somewhat of a war. You know, it was a very 50-50 fight. And then Jakub got knocked out with a body shot in round 3. I don't necessarily think Patchy's going to be able to knock him out of a body shot, but maybe he can hurt him because I have seen this guy hurt on the feet a couple of times. He's not very comfortable on the feet. Like I said, he's more of a grappler. He can throw on the feet, but he is more of a grappler. And Patchy does have power, and I think a lot more power than Jakub. So I wouldn't say it's impossible for Patchy to catch him with like a big overhand or something like that. So then we move on to the third fight, right? The trilogy. And Shahbazyan lost this fight. Jakub won this fight via split decision. To be honest, I think that was a clean decision. I don't think it should be a split decision. He was able to grapple Shahbazyan. He got top time for multiple of the rounds. I will say he got reversed a couple of times here. And he actually got put in some precarious positions. Namely, one time he got put in a front headlock, a choke. And remember, we spoke about Patchy's front headlock series earlier. So that wasn't a great sign to see. The so-called grappler going up against the so-called striker. And even though you're out grappling him, at times you're getting reversed and put into some precarious positions on the ground and leaving your neck out there to be choked. It's not a great sign coming up against Patchy Mix. The next fight was the draw. And I want to show you this draw because this was a very good fight. I mean, this was about a war. And the reason it was a draw, it didn't actually end it didn't go the full 25 minutes. This was obviously for the bantamweight title, so it's a 5-round fight, right? It didn't go the full 25 minutes, right? It's a crazy fight because Shahbazyan almost knocks out Jakub with like 30 seconds gone in the fight, right? It's not even been a minute yet, and he almost knocks him out, drops him with a big shot, huge right hook, beautiful combination. I'll show you in a minute. But then 4 rounds goes by. It's like a back and forth fight, you know, again, just like all of their fights, kind of like a back and forth fight until round 4, and Jakub makes a stupid mistake. Maybe you could say he's got bad fight IQ. He completely soccer kicks Shahbazyan in his face as he was standing up to his feet, and the fight gets stopped. And because so long had gone in the fight, it was halfway, it was like 1 minute away from the 5th round. They ended up judging the fight as was, right? They stopped the fight. They didn't start the 5th round, but they ended up judging the fight. And I guess it was 2-2, so they called it a draw, right? I want to show you this now because this was actually a very interesting one. One thing I want to show you is this great combination by Shahbazyan where he almost knocked out Jakub with in the first 30 seconds of the fight. Look at this one, boys. Watch this. Bump, bump, bump. Drops him. Woo! He's got good recoverability, but boy, he got hurt in that exchange. Look at that. Let's slow that one down and look at exactly what he throws at him, because this is a beautifully timed combination, and this shows me that he can be hit, right? So let's look at this. So Shahbazyan comes in and he actually fakes a left hand. He fakes a left hand so much so, and I've paused it here. Boys, if you can see, I don't know, it's bad quality, but if you can see, look at Shahbazyan's left hand here, right? In the blue gloves. His left hand is actually open. So he faked the left hook. And we know it's a fake because, first of all, he doesn't commit to it. But second of all, it's so obvious that it's a fake because he actually opens his hand, right? The only reason he threw this left hand fake was to get Jakub to raise his right hand. And as we can see, he's done that perfectly. Jakub has raised his right hand, good defense. But actually, it was a decoy because what Shahbazyan does, he comes through with the right hand and then he chambers it with a left hook, and then he comes through with the right hook and he knocks him down with the right hook, right? So let's watch it. This is a fake left hand, right? And then it's a right hook, right straight to the body, beautiful one. Then it's a left hook to the body. He kind of grazes off his chest armpit here, but then he comes up because he's loaded on that side. He comes up with a beautiful right hook over the top and drops him. Watch, bang. Watch that one more time. So fake left hook, straight hand, left hook to the body, right hook over the top. Beautiful. We'll watch it one more time again in real time. And yeah, so it's just such a beautiful striking, boys. And sorry, I'm nerding out here. Watch, bam, 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 bam. Woo! Beautiful strike, right? But if we go all the way to almost the end of the fight. So Jakub, as always, in all of their fights, is grappling him now. And as I said, this guy is a grappler, boys. So he's grappling him now. And watch what happens. Jakub will stand up to his feet. And as Shahbazyan's standing up, bang, kicks him in the face. And Mark Goddard stops the fight. And the entire fight is stopped. Let's watch that one again. So Shahbazyan kicks him off, stands up, bang, gets booted in the face. Any replays? Yeah, we've got a replay. So this is poor fight IQ by Shahbazyan, because watch it with me, boys. Bang, kick to the face. You can't do that. You can't soccer kick someone to the face. That's going against the rules. So they ended up being a draw. And in the last fight, which is actually his last fight, the way he got the guillotine choke was kind of a beautiful front kick to the face that kind of grazed off. And he just basically jumped on the neck from standing position, and he was able to put him unconscious with a guillotine choke. It was actually a bit of a late stoppage. The referee didn't notice that Shahbazyan was unconscious. So now he comes into the Patchy mix fight, right? And as I've talked you through the entire series of his rivalry, 7-year rivalry with his opponent Shahbazyan, what we have now seen is that Jakub's primarily a grappler. And like I said, he's been putting in front chokes and stuff like that. And I just feel like he's coming up now against a better grappler, right? Who he probably can't take down. And if he does, he's probably going to leave his neck out like he does in most of his takedowns, and he's going to get submitted. So that's what I think is going to happen, boys. I think Patchy Mix is too high level of a grappler. And I think Patchy Mix can get takedowns of his own as well. I just think Patchy Mix is better at what Jakub does best. You know, like Jakub's strength is grappling, takedowns, submissions, and Patchy does it better. So I'm really confident in Patchy Mix here. I'm pretty confident in the submission, although I could definitely see a decision, you know, just getting on top in positions. Maybe Shahbazyan rushes positions, even gets on a submission of his own, and Patchy's just able to reverse it and stay on top of him. So yeah, I like Patchy in this one, boys, and I think he does get it done via submission. But I'm a lot more confident on Patchy Moneyline in general. But I will pick Patchy Mix via submission. I will even pick Patchy Mix via front headlock. So maybe a guillotine choke, giving him a taste of his own medicine, or maybe a Dash choke or something like that. Fourth fight of the night, we have Ramiz Brahimaj taking on Austin Vanderford, husband of ex-UFC fighter Paige Van Zandt. Ramiz Brahimaj coming into this fight with a record of 12 wins, 5 losses. Austin Vanderford coming into this fight with a record of 13 wins and 2 losses. Currently, they have Austin Vanderford as the big favorite, minus 240 odds, with the underdog price tag on Ramiz Brahimaj coming back at plus 205. So pretty interesting fight, boys. Pretty interesting fight. And the reason it's interesting is because Ramiz Brahimaj is literally round one or bust in basically every single fight he's ever fought, except for one fight outside of the UFC many, many moons ago. And what I mean by that is if he doesn't get the finish in round one, he loses. Let's have a look at his record together. On my big screen here, we can literally go through this one together. So Ramiz Brahimaj is very dangerous in round one, guys. We scroll down and we look at his last 2 wins, and basically every win, right? Billy Ray Goffey submitted him with a guillotine choke in round one, and Mickey Gall knocked him out in round one, right? If we go back and look at any time he's been out of round one, like against Femba Garimbo, he loses via decision. Anytime he gets out of round one, like against Court McGee, he loses via decision. Outside of round one, he loses via Max Griffin, via decision. Outside of round one, he loses. Justin Patterson, decision. Outside of round one, Evan Cutts, he loses, decision. If we look at his wins, Michael Gilmore, round one submission. Sasha Palatnikov, round one finish. Carlos Martinez, round one finish. William Macario, round 2 finish. Outside of that, Bilal Williams, round 1 finish. Ben Simmons, round 1 finish. Josh Sturgill, round 1 finish. Andrew Sosa, round 1 finish. You get the point. If this guy doesn't submit you or knock you out in round one, he ain't really beating you, you know? If we go back and look at that Femba Garimbo fight, Garimbo took him down multiple times, dominated him from top position, and kind of made it look easy, man. Basically, Ramiz didn't really have anything for him. On the other hand, we look at Austin Vanderford, and this guy can only be beaten in round one. If you don't beat him in round one, he's going to grind you out because his only 2 losses ever were via knockout in round one. So, you know, all the other fights, he wins, you know, he wins. He's won every other fight, literally. Even back to the regional scene. You know, even beat Adam Fugit once upon a time. So it's funny to me, boys, because it's like we got a guy who only wins in round one, right? But conversely, we got a guy who wins every fight that gets out of round one, and we got a guy that loses every fight that gets out of round one. So my job now is just to say, is this fight getting out of round one or not? Because if it's not, Vanderford's winning. And if it is ended in round one, then Ramiz Brahimaj is winning. And I know it's maybe not a super technical breakdown, and I will give you a bit more of a technical breakdown now, but historic show that that's what's going to happen. You know, round one is Ramiz, and after that, Vanderford's going to grind him out. So there's a couple of things I want to say, boys. The 2 times that Austin Vanderford did lose, he got knocked out, right? And one thing I'll say about Ramiz Brahimaj is that he hasn't got great striking. I don't think he's a knockout artist. Contrary to popular belief, I know he just knocked out Mickey Gall, but at the end of the day, man, that was literally his only knockout in his entire career. If we go back and look at his entire career, every single other win, every single one outside of one amateur fight, right, was a submission win. So I don't think all of a sudden this guy's Mike Tyson. So the way Vanderford had lost, although it's been in round one, it's been by a knockout. And I just don't think Ramiz Brahimaj is a great knockout artist. You know, if Brahimaj wins, it's usually via guillotine choke, submission, something like that. And I just don't think he's going to be able to do that to Austin Vanderford. Is it impossible? No. Ramiz is very tough, very durable, and very dangerous in round one. But Austin Vanderford is the better wrestler here. So he's going to be able to dictate where the fight goes. And if he's able to dictate where the fight goes, I got to believe that he's going to be the one on top. He's going to be the one dominating from top position. And he's going to be the one gritting out and grinding out the decision. I think the way to play this one, boys, is Ramiz Brahimaj in round one, as it always is. Shout out to me and the VIPs for cashing Ramiz round one plus 700 against Billy Ray Goff in his very last fight. Also, scroll down to the Michael Gilmore fight, cash Ramiz round one. Sasha Palatnikov fight, cash Ramiz round one. Like, we know how to play Ramiz Brahimaj fights, boys, because we cash on his fights a lot. So let's take a look at my record and see how we've cashed on Ramiz Brahimaj, because he's been very, very good to us. Me and the VIPs have cashed big on Ramiz Brahimaj in the past. So we bet half a unit on Ramiz to beat Max Griffin in round one. That was plus 650, that lost. We bet a unit on Ramiz to win inside the distance against Sasha. We also tied that to half a unit shot on Ramiz to win in round one against Sasha. Both of those cashed. Both of those were plus money. We also bet the fight goes to decision. Ramiz versus Court McGee. That was a lovely one that cashed. We bet Ramiz to win inside the distance and in round one again against Michael Gilmore. And we also bet him to win in round one against Billy Goff at plus 900 odds, boys. That is massive. We bet Billy Goff 2-3 as well, so we covered that very, very well. Overall, that's a plus 3 unit cash. So at the moment, on Ramiz Brahimaj fights, we are plus 10.3 units of profit with 120% ROI for a $20,622 cash profit from myself. So I've won 20K from Ramiz Brahimaj fight. So shout out to Ramiz. He is the man. Everyone in the VIP loves him. I love him. So boys, one thing I want to say, if you're not in my VIP, I don't know what you're doing. I'm recording this the day of Contender Series. I'm recording this a week early, right? So we just cashed on Contender Series. Again, look, we can even scroll up together and have a look at our record. So let's scroll down. And by the way, look at that beautiful graph. It is up and 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 up for the whole time. Yes, we go down a couple of times. Look, there's a little downtrend here. There's a little downtrend here. There's a little downtrend here. But it is always trending up. I mean, if you started with 0, you'd have 500 units in profit in 5 years. That's crazy, boys. Oh, I've just scrolled past my bet. So this is actually going to be released after Perth, right? So let's have a look at the bets we have. So we got Brando Perisic. We bet on him. We bet on Navajo Sterling against Rodolfo Bellato. We bet on Ivan Erston against Jimmy Crute. We bet on Carlos Ulberg against Dominic Reyes. And we have a parlay of Michelle Montague and Alexia Tayanara in their fight. So hopefully these ones cash, boys. You will know because this will be shown after that event. So yeah, hopefully we cashed. So boys, here we are, Contender Series. We bet on Javier Reyes against Justice Torres. We had a 3-unit bet. It cashed in round 1. You know what else cashed in round 1? Our bet on Contender Series before that. We had fight-ins by KO plus 100 cashed in round 1. You know what else cashed? Most of our bets here. And one thing I'll say, boys, is like you can watch my breakdowns, right? And you can watch my Hammer of the Week video. And you could put loads of money on that. But you don't have all of my other bets. So it's very important if you really want to sign up, if you really want to make money, to sign up. Because look at this one, boys, right? I bet on Jared Gordon. And I put him as Hammer of the Week last week, right? I bet on Jared Gordon, right? And it lost. But look what happened. We won on the event. 2.9 units, 5.8 grand profit. 5.8 grand profit on the event. But my Hammer of the Week play lost, right? The reason we still profited even though my Hammer of the Week play lost is because we averaged out our bets and we put the right amount of money on each bet to make sure that overall we came out on top. So that's something else I do with the VIP as well, boys. I tell you exactly how much to put on each bet. So if you want to sign up, you get long shot props, long shot parlays, all of my bets, and tell you exactly how much to put on each bet. Very, very important. Underrated aspect of the game is to understand how much to put on each bet. So sublaunch.com/lucrative MMA if you want to sign up. It's cheaper than the price of coffee every single day, which you probably get. So that's it, boys. The link is in the bio if you want to sign up. It'll be a pleasure to have you in the VIP, cashing with everyone. But yeah, back to the Ramiz fight. Like I said, we've dominated Ramiz, 20K profit overall in his fights. And I think the best way to play this one is the best way to play any Ramiz fight, which is Ramiz to win in round 1 and then maybe Austin Vanderford money line. Or if you want to get cheeky, Austin Vanderford via decision. Because Ramiz is tough. I don't see him getting finished. It's not impossible though. So the more cheeky you get in this game, the higher chance of ruin, you know. But at the end of the day, the higher chance of profit as well. So yeah, that's my prediction for this one, boys. Austin Vanderford via decision. The next fight of the night, we have Veronica Hardy, husband of ex-UFC fighter Dan Hardy, formerly known as Veronica Macedo, taking on Brogan Walker. Veronica Hardy coming into this fight with a record of 9 wins, 5 losses, and 1 draw. Brogan Walker coming into this fight with a record of 7 wins and 4 losses. Veronica Hardy is currently the second biggest favorite on the entire fight card at minus 550 odds, with the underdog price tag on Brogan Walker coming back at a massive plus 420. So unfortunately, boys, I haven't done tape study for this fight. As I said, Veronica's the biggest favorite on the card, so I wasn't that motivated to tape this fight. But I will be rooting for Veronica. I had the pleasure of meeting her in Las Vegas. She was a very nice lady. We spoke about doing some content, doing some interviews together. So yeah, I'm definitely rooting for her because of that. But one thing I will say is that not only am I rooting for her, I genuinely think she's going to win this fight, but I haven't done my research on this fight, so I can't give you an official prediction. You know, I'm going to say right now though, my prediction is Veronica Hardy wins the fight, probably via decision. I know Brogan Walker and I know Veronica well. I've earned a lot of money on Veronica. If we go to my third-party track record, which again, 99% of these scam decappers do not have a third-party track record, I have a third-party track record that has a list of all of my wins and losses for the last 6 years, so I cannot fake my record. Every single bet I've ever placed on MMA is there for you to see. I can't edit it, nothing. So let's have a look. We've done very well on Veronica Hardy fights, especially on our money line. So we bet Veronica Hardy here, 4 units. Me and a VIP cashed against Jamie Lynn Horth. We also bet 3 units against JJ Aldridge. We actually faded her in our last fight, 2 units, as a plus 110 underdog, Eduardo Mora. So that was good. Transparency, boys. Like I said, not only the wins, the losses are shown here as well. We did lose on her fight versus Juliana Minna, but we did win a prop on the JJ Aldridge one. So we lost 3.75 units overall on props, but we won 8.17 units overall on our money line. So we won 16.3K there, minus 7.5K. So you're looking at about 7-8K profit on Veronica Hardy fights overall, which is very good, you know. So I think I've got a good read on Veronica Hardy, and as soon as I watch tape on this one, I will send out any bets to my VIP and I'll do a full card breakdown, an updated one, as I always do every single week, and send them out to my VIP. So hopefully we can cash again. But as always, I'm rooting for Veronica Hardy in this fight. As we move up the prelims in the next fight, we have Farid Basharat taking on Chris Gutierrez. This is a pretty good fight, boys. Farid Basharat coming in with the undefeated shiny record, one half of the Basharat brothers. His record is 13 wins, no losses. Chris Gutierrez coming into this fight with a record of 22 wins, 5 losses, and 2 draws. Currently, they have Basharat at minus 325 odds, with the underdog price tag on Chris Gutierrez coming back at plus 275. What a great fight we have here, boys. Farid Basharat is for real. Farid Basharat is for real. 13 wins, no losses. I think he's a very high-level fighter. You know, the breakout performance for me from Farid was his very last fight. No, not his very last fight. The fight before that against Taylor Lapilus. I thought it was his very last fight. Forgot about that Victor Hugo one. But yeah, he fought Taylor Lapilus, and man, that was a great performance. The guy shot about 20 takedowns, took Taylor down multiple times, and Taylor's a very good fighter and a very good anti-grappler as well. So, you know, it was a very good standout performance from him for me. I also think the Mount Blackshear is a very good fighter. So for him to beat the Mount Blackshear, that was very high level as well. And man, I just feel like he's a step above Chris Gutierrez. The thing about Chris Gutierrez is you can beat him via pressure and takedowns. And man, I just feel like Farid Basharat has that in spades, you know. Farid Basharat is the pressure and takedown king. That's what he does. That is literally what he does. He is the pressure and takedown king. And I feel like Chris Gutierrez is not going to have an answer to it, boys. I mean, what's Chris going to do? You know, what is Chris going to do? Is he going to stop the takedowns and calf kick him? Farid can probably win on the feet. He can probably win on the feet, and he can win in the grappling. If we come over here to ferocious Farid Basharat's UFC stats, right, you'll see that this guy is averaging 4 takedowns a minute, 3.97. 4 takedowns every 15 minutes. That's high level, boys. That's high level because he's shooting more than that, right? So he's shooting way more than that. He's landing 4 every single fight. 4 every single fight. That's crazy because some fights he doesn't even really grapple that much. You know what I mean? And some fights, like the Clayton one, it ended in round 1. So he didn't even have a chance to get his grappling game going. But yeah, I mean, you see, no matter who he fights, he's taking them down. The least amount of takedowns he's got in one fight is 2, and that's because it ended in round 1. Every other fight, he's got 3 minimum, and against Taylor, he got 5. And like I said, if we go back and look at Taylor's, the Taylor fight, he shot 16 takedowns. I mean, man, I just don't see Chris Gutierrez stuffing all those takedowns. I think he'll stuff a lot. You know, he'll stuff a couple because his takedown defense is 70%. It's pretty good takedown defense. But if we see here, in every single one of his last 4 fights, he got taken down, man. He got taken down at least twice in 3 of them, right? And some of these fights are against strikers. You know what I mean? Like Alatang this guy's kind of a striker. Song Yadong, he's kind of a striker. The Quang Lee fight was very close. The John Castaneda fight was even more close. And Chris Gutierrez got a knockdown in that fight and still arguably could have lost the fight. And, you know, Castaneda was able to get a takedown in round 3. And the thing about it is when he got the take, it's not just about getting a takedown because it's not that easy to take Chris down. But once you get the takedown, he ain't got much from his back, man. You go back and you see the Cody Durden fight. He took his back for all of round 1. 10-8'd him in round 1 on his debut. You know what I mean? Castaneda fight, he took him down in round 3. And go back and watch that fight, boys. He has about 2 to 3 minutes of control. On Chris Gutierrez in round feet, easy. I just think Farid Basharat's going to put on a takedown clinic in this fight. And I am picking Farid Basharat. And I am picking him very confidently, to be honest, boys. One of my most confident spots on the entire card is Farid Basharat. Minus 325 odds. Not that bad in my opinion. Pretty fucking solid. Next fight of the night, we have Edmen Shahbazyan taking on André Muniz in the UFC middleweight division. Edmen Shahbazyan's record sitting at 15 wins, 5 losses. André Muniz's record sitting at 24 wins, 7 losses. Currently, Edmen Shahbazyan, the big favorite, minus 240 odds, with the underdog price tag on André Muniz coming back at plus 205. So Edmen Shahbazyan putting on a little bit of a run together. A little bit run after he dropped the ball against Gerard Meerschaert. And man, I watched that fight the other day and I do not know how Edmen Shahbazyan did not win that fight. I mean, he gave him a little cheeky uppercut to the gut and Edmen Shahbazyan Gerard Meerschaert was done. He was completely done. You know, I thought that fight was going to be stopped, but somehow Gerald was able to, weather the storm. And in the same round, took down Edmen Shahbazyan, ended up finishing with an arm triangle choke. Edmen tapped super quick, got taken down super easy. It was crazy because Edmen was kind of cruising in that fight, stuffing all the takedowns, looking good. And then he emptied his tank after he thought he had got the knockout, just like I thought he had done it. And after he emptied the tank, he had nothing left. Obviously, no tank, tank's empty. And he got submitted like 60 seconds later. It was a crazy turn of events. Edmen Shahbazyan went, the best bet on the entire card to looking like, he was never going to win because he couldn't even sustain any type of offense. And that's kind of been the tale of Edmen's career, man. I mean, every single fight that gets out of round one, a lot of time he loses the fight, man. I mean, it's just something that's happened to him through his entire career. So he's facing André Muniz here, but the interesting thing about this fight is that André Muniz is a gasser as well. We talk about dropping the ball. Let's go back and look at André Muniz's last fight. Nothing's happening. He's getting walked down by Ikram Aliskerov, right? And then somehow he gets punched with a shot that looks like he's going to do nothing. He takes the shot. He's fine. 1 second later, his knees just give out, he collapses, and he's knocked out. It's crazy. Like, it's a very delayed reaction, and I can't trust him. Like, I got a feeling that André Muniz is washed. Is there evidence of it? Not really. I mean, he kind of looked washed against Paul Craig. He kind of looked terrible against Brendan Allen. He looked good against Jun Young Park, but Jun Young Park's not very dangerous at all. And at the end of the day, that was back in 2023. You're talking almost 2 years now. And he looked terrible against Ikram Aliskerov, can't take a shot. So I kind of feel like the same thing's going to happen as it did in that Ikram fight. I think Edmen's going to walk him down. I think Edmen's going to knock him out, man. Edmen had a good performance against Andrei Petroski. Look, this is what it comes down to. This is striker versus grappler matchup, right? Edmen is a pure striker, right? Pure striker. And Andrei is a pure grappler, right? So really, all we need to see is André going to be able to take him down? Because I don't think he's going to be able to outlast him like everybody has done to beat Edmen. The only way to beat Edmen is to outlast him. Because round one, he wins every round. He basically wins every round, right? So you have to outlast him. André ain't outlasting anyone, basically. So I don't really think we have to worry too much about the cardio. We just need to worry about André taking him down and submitting him because André is a much better BJJ player than Edmen. But Edmen is actually pretty good BJJ himself, especially early when he's not tired. And his takedown defense is good, and André isn't a great grappler. I mean, if we look at the fight against Andrei Petroski, I think Petroski performed poorly in that fight, and we're going to speak about Petroski later. But I will say that Edmen's takedown defense looked good in that fight. Edmen didn't have to use his takedown defense against Dylan Booker because he knocked him out straight away. And shout out to Edmen because he cashed me in the VIP a big bag in that fight. The fight before that, Gerald Meerschaert fight, honestly, his takedown defense again looked good up until we got tired. AJ Dobson fight, that was just a war. He got hurt badly and then he ended up getting a knockout. Anthony Hernandez fight, Fluffy Hernandez, his takedown defense looked good in that fight. Obviously, Hernandez did eventually drown him, but he does that to every single person that he's ever fought, basically, right? Edmonds was stuffing takedowns all of round one. Like, Fluffy couldn't sniff a takedown in round one. He did take him down at the end of round one, but Edmen got back up. It was very brief takedown, so he couldn't sniff a takedown for the entire first round. And at the end of the day, man, Muniz probably only has one round to get it done anyway, because he doesn't have good cardio either. So I just feel like Edmen's going to catch him, man. I feel like Edmen's going to catch him. I can see Muniz not having the striking defense or the takedowns. I can just see it to do anything to Edmen, and he's going to get knocked out. And I've had a good read on André Muniz for the most part in his career. If we go back and look at my track record on André Muniz fights, I mean, it's a hella profit. André Muniz, we bet him against Eric Anders, 2-unit easy bet, round one cash. We also bet Brendan Allen at plus 185. Plus 185 against André Muniz. That's crazy. And we also bet André Muniz at plus 170 against Junior Park. And say what you want about that fight. He clearly ran round two, right? Clearly. So it was, it was a very close fight. arguably Jung Young Park won the first round. He definitely won round 3. Arguably, he won round 1. But André Muniz grappled him for 3 minutes. And then, yeah, for the last 30 seconds, Jung Young Park done some damage on the ground. But that was a very close fight. And plus 170 was a great bet, regardless of the result. You know, I do think probably deserved to Jung Young Park. But, man, plus 170 was a good bet. So 9.36 units profit for the VIP. 18.7 grand profit on André Muniz fights. Now, scroll down. We do have some losses in there as well, but every single type of bet is in profit. All of the straight bets here overall are in profit. We bet on him against Paul Craig. That was a bad bet. That was a square bet, boys. We got effed up there. But if you go back and look at some of these fights here, man, we bet the over in the Uriah Hall fight, which looked free. We bet the fight goes to decision, which looked free. So, yeah, I've got a good read on André Muniz, and I really read him getting knocked out in this fight. So my official prediction, Edmen Shahbazyan via KO, probably KO in round 1. Maybe we ladder the hammer on that one. I don't know if it's the hammer play. Actually, I don't think it is the hammer play. We'll see. But maybe we play Edmen Shahbazyan moneyline, KO round 1. Maybe we just go crazy on this one. I'll decide. Just one fight left of the prelims, and it is Macy Chiasson taking on Yana Santos in the second women's fight of the evening. Macy Chiasson coming into this fight with a record of 10 wins, 4 losses. Yana Santos has an extensive MMA record of 16 wins, 8 losses. The wife of former UFC fighter Thiago Santos. I guess this is the ex-UFC fighter husband and wife show. So currently Macy Chiasson, the pretty big favorite at minus 215 odds, with the underdog price tag on Yana Santos coming back at plus 185. So yeah, this fight is not that interesting to me, to be honest, boys. I mean, Macy Chiasson is a good fighter, but I just can't trust her, man. Even in some of the performances she wins, in my opinion, she doesn't look good. So she got easily beat by Ketlen Vieira, right? That was a 30-27 decision. It wasn't really close. It's not like Ketlen smashed her, but Ketlen basically out-grappled her, outstruck her. She just won every minute of that fight for the most part. Macy Chiasson got outstruck in round 1. She tried to take her down multiple times in round 2 and round 3. And what happened? She couldn't. She got stuffed and she actually got reversed. So she tried to take her down and then she just ended up on bottom and she couldn't get back up from on the ground, really. She did once, but yeah, she kind of just got out-grappled and outstruck in that. That was a bad performance. We go back and look at the Mayra Bueno Silva fight. I was actually there live for that one. And man, Mayra Bueno Silva won round 1 easily. She was outstriking her, landing big shots. And in round 2, Macy got a takedown. She is tenacious. She is a bit of a dog. She got that dog in her, so she won't quit. You know, she got kind of beat up a little bit in round 1. She took her down with a trip takedown, which is kind of important in this fight. And I'll circle back to the trip takedown. And if I don't, let me know in the comments. And the first strike she threw on the ground, not the second, not the third, the first strike she threw was an elbow that cut Mayra open, and the fight was stopped because of the cut. So it was kind of lucky, man. Like, obviously, look, she threw the shot, it cut her, the ref came in, the ref stopped it. Like, I mean, you know, the doctor came in, the doctor stopped it. But at the end of the day, man, it's just lucky that it cut her in the perfect position at the perfect time. And we had the perfect doctor in there to stop the fight. Like, a lot of doctors wouldn't have stopped it, like, etc. So, yeah, I think that was a lucky win. One thing I'll say, though, that cut was vicious, man. Like, that cut is probably the fastest bleeding cut I've ever seen. You know, like, as soon as the elbow lands, the cut starts pissing with blood. I've rarely seen that. Usually it's sliced open, it takes a couple of seconds and then it starts pouring out. But that cut must have been super deep. So probably it was a good stoppage by the doctor, because the doctor actually came in and said, you could hear it on the broadcast, the doctor came in that said that the cut is down to the bone, so we have to stop the fight because it's going in her eye and it's too deep, right? And I actually tend to believe that because how fast the cut was bleeding and how profusely it was bleeding. But Mayra was fine. Mayra jumped out the cage after the fight was stopped, which is Chiasson's opponent, and ran straight over to Dana White and said, you need to book me again. This fight shouldn't have been stopped. I'm fine. Like, she's a dog, man. We talk about dogs. But at the end of the day, what I'm trying to say, boys, it was kind of a lucky win, right? She lost round 1 clean and, yeah, good elbow, but it was a lucky stoppage. The fight before that, Pani Khan said, it wasn't lucky, but she took Pani down straight away. She got reversed. She got taken down herself, and then she re-reversed Pani and choked her out. We cashed there. We cashed massively. We bet the under 2.5 rounds at like plus 290 or something ridiculous like that. So I was happy, but I can't say it was like a clean performance. Irene Aldana fight, again, that was poor, man. Like, we bet on her in that fight. We lost that fight, right? We lost that bet, but we bet on her in that fight. She was looking easily the side. She was plus 180 underdog, right? We got her at plus 180. She was looking cruising. She was going to win the fight. I've never seen a stoppage like this before. Irina Aldana on her feet, kicks her in the liver from the ground, up kicks her, and then she just quits. The fight's over. So I don't really like Macy. I can't trust Macy. But you know who else I can't trust? Yana Santos. Boys, to me, this fight is going to come down to the grappling of Macy Chiasson. And one thing I've noticed is that Yana Santos is susceptible to the trip takedown, which is what Macy likes to use, you know. She uses the trip takedown, or she just muscle gels down to the ground with her strength. And I do think she's stronger fighter here. We see in the Holly Holm fight where Yana Santos was taken down multiple times, dominated from top position by some of the same takedowns that Macy uses. Is the exact same takedowns that Yana Santos succumbed to against Holly Holm. So I don't think that's great. I think that's kind of bullish for a Macy play. And one thing I will say is that when Yana Santos is on her back, she's not a great fighter, boys. She gets taken down and she just can't get back up to her feet, you know. We saw in the Miesha Tate round 3. I mean, Miesha Tate almost had her in that fight, dominated round 3, easy round. And she only got one takedown in that fight. And as soon as she did, she just dominated her from the ground like it wasn't competitive. So, boys, I had Miesha Tate round 3 for $40,000 in this fight. And this is my reaction to when she didn't get the round 3 stoppage.
Come on, we got Miesha round 3.
I was so upset.
And money line for the insane bag. One of the biggest bags ever. One of the biggest bags ever, Miesha.
One of the biggest bags ever. 40K.
One of the biggest
Come on,
ever.
she had a hand. Oh, man.
Come on, Miesha.
MMA betting
Holly
is brutal,
Holm part
boys.
2.
Yeah,
No
Holly Holm
way.
part 2.
I'm sweating right now, boys. You might not be able to tell, but my heart is going.
So there we go, boys. She didn't get
She's
it.
got the back.
I was so upset. But anyway, we move, man. We move. That's MMA betting in a nutshell. But what I'm trying to portray there, boys, is not only my heartbreak, but also the fact that when Yana Santos gets taken down, it gets ugly, you know? And even if we go back and to watch a kickboxer like Holly Holm take her down, she put her in the crucifix, end of round 1. And then she also got her in a rear naked choke. It was only like half a second. But I just feel like if these girls are putting you in those bad positions, Macy Chiasson is probably going to do it. I actually feel like Macy Chiasson could get a finish in this fight. Is it a definite? No, it's not a definite. But I do think that it is a possibility. So yeah, I'm actually picking Macy Chiasson to win this fight. And boys, like, probably inside the distance. Now we kick off the main card, boys, and it is Youssef Zalal 2.0 taking on Josh Emmett. And if you don't know why he's 2.0, then you're a bit of a casual, but don't worry, I'm going to tell you. So Youssef Zalal 2.0 coming into this fight with a record of 17 wins, 5 losses, and 1 draw. Josh Emmett coming into this fight with a record of 19 wins and also 5 losses. Very similar record for these UFC featherweights. So Youssef Zalal currently the big favorite at minus 350 odds, with the underdog price tag on Josh Emmett coming back at plus 285. So we're on the main card now, boys, and I'm excited to speak about this one, man. I'm excited to speak about this one. Youssef Zalal 2.0. And like I said, the reason I'm calling him Youssef Zalal 2.0 is because this guy is coming in like a newly invigorated man after being cut from the UFC. And if we go back and look at his earlier career, the guy fought Ilia Topuria, lost. Sungwoo Choi, lost. Sean Woodson, lost. Damon Blackshear, draw. And he was cut, right? He got cut. And then he went and racked off multiple wins, not only in UFC, not only in MMA, but also boxing and kickboxing, and multiple finishes, racked off 1, 2, 3 finishes in the first round in a row, and then he came back in. And this guy was known as a decision fighter, right? All of a sudden, he's finishing everyone. He's finishing Billy Quarantillo, finishing Aarons, finishing Jack Shaw, and then he beat Calvin Kattar. So this guy is actually a very, very high-level fighter, and I just really think I really think he's evolved, you know? It's not like he's a different fighter. He's the same fighter. He's just better at everything now. You know, he's more evasive. And one thing is he's more dangerous now. You know, I think his jiu-jitsu has improved. I think his grappling has improved. I think some of his dynamic striking has improved. And he's just landing his shots better. His eyes are a bit better. His reaction time in the offense is a little bit better. His defense has always been elite. I mean, we go back to the Ilia Topuria fight, boys. Ilia Topuria finishes everyone, you know. The only person he couldn't finish is Youssef Zalal and Josh Emmett, and they're now fighting each other, which is an interesting tidbit. The difference is Ilia Topuria couldn't really land clean at all on Youssef Zalal. But you know who he could land clean on? Joshua Emmett. He destroyed Josh Emmett. He did not destroy Youssef Zalal. Youssef Zalal actually won round 3 from him, and Ilia Topuria had to grapple to win that fight. So that tells you a lot about Youssef Zalal. And yes, of course, Ilia Topuria was making his debut. It was short notice, and we cashed on him there, you know. But at the end of the day, I still think that is a big feather in the cap of somebody like Youssef Zalal to not only not get finished, but also win a round of Ilia Topuria, whether he was making his debut or not. I still think it's a very high level thing to do. And man, if Ilia Topuria isn't knocking him out and no one's really landing on him or hurting him, ironically, Sung Woo Choi was the guy who landed on him the most in his career for the most part. Damon Blackshear did get a 10-8 round 3, but yeah, I mean, that wasn't really a consistent landing. Sung Woo Choi kind of did over 15 minutes. But anyway, what I was trying to say is if Ilia Topuria is not landing on him, I don't think Josh Emmett is, especially at this time in his career. These guys are on complete different trajectories, boys. Youssef Zalal is a confident pick for me here. I think his footwork is too good. I think he's actually too dangerous. I think he's live for a finish here. I think he's live for a club and sub like he's done against everyone. Billy, Jano, Jack. You know, I really think he's live for a club and sub here. I think the same thing that happened to Jack Shaw could happen to Josh Emmett, but maybe it's a rear naked choke instead of a arm triangle. Josh Emmett seems the type to be able to escape an arm triangle, but maybe not a rear naked choke. One thing I'll say is that Youssef Zalal will attack the body at times, and Josh Emmett seems to be a little bit more vulnerable to the body than he is to the head. So yeah, man, I could see a finish here. Obviously, decision is more likely, but I like Youssef Zalal quite a bit here, boys, and I'm picking him confidently. Now things are really heating up, boys. We have Jiří Procházka taking on Khalil Rountree Jr. in the next fight. Jiří Procházka coming into this fight, record of 31 wins, 5 losses, 1 draw. One of the biggest and most extensive MMA records on the entire card, maybe the most. Khalil Rountree Jr., on the other hand, has a record of 14 wins, 6 losses. Currently, the odds are -175 for Jiří Procházka with the underdog price tag on Khalil Rountree coming back at +150. Man, we're heating up now. We are heating up now, boys. This is such an epic fight. First things first, right? I want to point this out to you guys. When I was watching tape for Jiří Procházka, I decided to watch a bunch of fights just because his fights are so effing fun to watch. You know, sometimes when I got to sit down and grind through these fighters like Macy, Chiasson and Yana, Santos, it's a tough watch. But man, Jiří was a beautiful watch, and I actually went back and watched his entire UFC career, every single fight, boys, and I think he's had 7. Let me have a look. Could be wrong. Probably right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's had 7 fights in the UFC. Let me tell you something. Every single fight he gets hurt, wobbled, knocked out, or dropped in. Every single fight. There's not one fight he's fought in his entire UFC career where he hasn't been hurt. Crazy stat. Volkan Ozdemir hurt him. Dominic Reyes damn near knocked him out with an up kick bad. Glover Teixeira damn near knocked him out on the feet with boxing. Alex Pereira knocked him out. Alexander Rakic landed on him badly. Probably the least out of everyone, but Alexander Rakic was landed on him. Alex Pereira knocked him out. Jamal Hill was landing big shots as well, wobbled him a couple of times. So every single fight he's getting wobbled. So is he going to get wobbled in this fight? Yes. How can I sit here and say to you, there's like this is going to be the first fight out of 8? Out of 8, right? This is going to be the first fight where he doesn't get wobbled. I can't do that, boys. Like he is going to get wobbled. It's a fact, right? Obviously, nothing is guaranteed in MMA, but I'm pretty confident he's going to get wobbled. Now, what I will say is that you don't want to be getting wobbled by Khalil Rountree Jr., man. Like Khalil is a sharpshooter, He's a bit too patient for me, I will say that. He's a little bit patient, so I don't necessarily love that, because you don't want to be patient against Jiří Procházka unless you're somebody like Alex Pereira and you're just such high level striker than him that you kind of can be patient. Because I could see Khalil hurting him, because I'm almost certain he's going to get hurt, and then kind of just being too patient, letting him up, and then getting cooked round 2, round 3. I mean, Jiří Procházka to finish him in round 2 and round 3 is probably the more likely outcome. But man, I kind of like Khalil as an underdog here. Like I said, the odds are +155, so it's not great, but I'm pretty sure Jiří's going to get some money. So I might wait, and by the time this is out, Khalil might be a +180, +190. And at that point, I might start to look to get involved a little bit. Will I make it a full 3 unit bet like I usually do, flat stake it? Maybe not. Maybe I go 2, because it's hard to bet against Jiří Procházka. But man, I just feel like Khalil has the chance to do it. Khalil is a sharpshooter and he seems to be better. One thing I'll say about Khalil, boys, and boys, if you want to hear a full length breakdown of this, go back and watch my UFC bet and picks video where I break down the main card in full detail with fight footage, showing you exactly the sequences that I'm speaking about in real time. So I'll be a little bit quick on this one, but one thing I will say is that Khalil Rountree, and this is what I'll leave you with, Khalil Rountree is a confidence-based fighter. All right, we know that for his entire career. And he's going to have a lot of confidence coming off an Anthony Smith KO, coming off a Chris Daukaus KO, coming off a Dustin Jacoby win, coming off a Carl Roberson KO, Modestus KO, and then the loss came to Alex Pereira in a fight that I actually think he would gain more confidence off, right? He would gain more confidence off the Alex Pereira KO loss than any of his wins, in my opinion, just because that was such a great performance. You know, he was 2-0 up against Alex going into round 3, and a lot of the community praised him for that fight. So I could imagine that he had a lot of confidence based on that performance, and he was already on a 6-fight winning streak. And then he fought Jamal Hill, a former title holder, who he kind of easily beat from pillar to post. It wasn't competitive. And so I think he's going to have a lot of confidence going into this Jiří fight, and I think that could serve him well when he could get a knockout in this fight. So I'm going to put Khalil Rountree here. I'm scared to bet against Jiří. I'm scared to pick against Jiří, but at the end of the day, man, I have to say what I see, and what I see is Jiří walking onto a big shot here. The most likely outcome, as I have said, is that Jiří does walk through the fire and gets his win like he does to every single fighter outside of one Alex Pereira, but all good things have to come to an end, and you cannot keep getting hurt in every fight and not getting knocked out, even though he did against Alex. So I feel like, you know, Khalil could get it done here, man. I'm going to pick Khalil, but I wouldn't be surprised with a Jiří knockout in round 2 or round 3, of course. I think violence is a good bet here. Doesn't go to a decision is a great bet here. It's going to be chalk. There's going to be minus 400, but it still could be a good bet even at those odds. Next up, we have Merab Dvalishvili taking on Corey Sandhagen for the UFC Bantamweight Championship. Merab putting his UFC title, win streak, and GOAT status on the line against the Sandman. So Merab coming into this fight with a record of 20 wins, 4 losses. Corey, on the other hand, similar record, 18 wins, only 5 losses. Currently, they have Merab Dvalishvili as a big favorite, minus 350 odds, with the underdog price tag on Corey Sandhagen coming back at plus 285. Here we are, boys. We're getting to the fun part of the show. Not that it hasn't been fun, but man, this is a great fight. And I want to pull something up for you, boys, and I want you to listen to this along with me. Do you know what this is, boys? Do you know what this is, boys? Boys, this is Enter the Sandman by Metallica, because you know the Sandman is coming for Merab Dvalishvili this weekend. The Sandman is coming to take Merab's crown. The Sandman is coming to become the first man to dethrone Merab Dvalishvili after going on a crazy run and becoming the bantamweight GOAT, not just a bantamweight champion. And we're going to be there to cash the plus 300 ticket. Let's effing go. Let's effing go. Look, boys, I'm not in the business of fading Merab Dvalishvili. Well, I am. I bet on Sean O'Malley. That was an absolute square bet. Please don't kill me. But I'm not in the business of fading him, right? He's a great fighter. But what I will say is that every man's time comes to an end. And also what I will say, this is the most important thing. I'm an MMA gambler. I'm not an analyst. Yeah, I analyze the fights to make money on them. I'm a gambler, boys. I bet on value. The biggest difference between professional sports bettors and people who make predictions and try to win money on betting but lose money is the people who are professional bet on value. What does value mean? Value is when you bet when the odds are incorrect, whether you're picking that guy to win or not. So I don't care if I'm picking Corey to win. What I am doing is betting on Corey Sandhagen this MFing weekend. He has a great chance to win this fight, boys. He has a very good chance to win this fight. This fight seems to me that it's going to be 2-2 going into round 5, and it's going to be a matter of who wants it more, who pushes the pace more. And you could say Merab does, but I think that Corey Sandhagen has more finishing upside here. I think he could catch Merab coming in with a knee. I think he could catch Merab with some spinning shit. I don't think Merab's going to finish Corey. I don't think Merab's going to hold down Corey. So I think there's going to be a good fight, a back-and-forth fight, just like Merab's fight with Umar Nurmagomedov was. And I'll say that go back and watch my other video, my betting picks video, if you want a full breakdown of this with fight footage, and I go into heavy detail. But right now, I'm just going to keep it short and sweet, man. Corey Sandhagen has never been controlled, really, in his entire career. If we go back and look at the Umar fight, Umar controlled him a little bit in round 4 and round 5. He did control him, but it took him a hell of a long time to control him. And I don't think Merab's got as good jiu-jitsu as Umar, to be honest. He's got better wrestling, but he ain't got as good as jiu-jitsu. And if Corey was out scrambling with Umar, keeping up with him in the jiu-jitsu realm, I think he's going to be able to do the exact same thing to Merab Dvalishvili here, even maybe put him in a choke once or twice, and it might deter him from shooting. One thing I'll say is that Merab's the much inferior striker here, and also Corey has better footwork. So I don't think Merab's going to be able to, shoot 50 takedowns like he did against Peter Yan, because Peter Yan doesn't have great footwork. I mean, he has good footwork, but he stands in front of you. He's a pressure fighter. Corey's not a pressure fighter. Corey will cook you from the outside. I think that's a good style to have against Merab, just like Umar's style did. And that Umar versus Merab fight was extremely close, a 50-50 fight that who could have won? Umar Nurmagomedov could have won that fight. Merab won it on a knockdown in round 5 with 40 seconds left to go. 40 seconds left of that fight, and Umar was the bantamweight champion in my eyes. He lost it fair and square on a knockdown and a takedown, but it was optics. If he didn't land that knockdown, if he didn't land that big shot, which he didn't land it for 24 and a half minutes, so he kind of just got lucky to land it in round 5. Not lucky because Umar was tiring out, but at the end of the day, man, if 30 seconds more went, he wouldn't have landed that knockdown. So I kind of think it's lucky to some degree. And yeah, man, if that didn't happen, it would be Umar as the bantamweight champion. So I don't think Merab is unbeatable, man. And time again, we see these fighters, they're heralded as unbeatable fighters, and then they get beat. And I think Corey Sandhagen has a good chance to do it this weekend. Boys, I'm picking Corey Sandhagen out right here. One of the biggest underdogs on the entire card. And I'm rocking with him. Enter the Sandman. Let's effing go. In the main event of the evening, boys, we made it. It is the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship title fight. Magomed Ankalaev putting his strap on the line against the man he recently beat in 2025, Alex Pereira. So Ankalaev has a record of 20 wins, 1 loss and 1 draw. Alex Pereira, on the other hand, almost half the amount of fights with 12 wins and 3 losses. Currently, they got Magomed Ankalaev a -210 favorite, with the underdog price tag on challenger Alex Pereira at +180. Main event time, boys. Are you ready? I've given you a massive hot take in the co-main. Am I going to give you a hot take in the main? Well, it's funny because the hot take in the first fight was that Magomed was going to win because he was the underdog. And the hot take in this fight, I guess, is that Alex is going to win, right? So I had the hot take in the first fight. Am I going to switch and pick Alex in the second fight? Me and the VIP cashed on Magomed in that first fight. And we cashed big. Underdog cash. I want to take you over to my Bet MMA and I want to show you the read we have had on Magomed Ankalaev, man. I mean, we bet Rakic against Ankalaev, right? Okay. I don't think that was a bad bet. A +285 odds. That was extremely close. Insane, massive price, right? So I don't have any regret on that one. We bet Ankalaev against Alex Pereira +105. We bet Ankalaev against Kutalaba. We bet him again against Kutalaba in the second fight. We bet Ankalaev against Krylov. We bet Ankalaev against Thiago Santos. Cash. 6.8k profit there. We also bet Yan Magomed Ankalaev fight goes to decision and over 2.5 rounds. We put a massive bag on Ankalaev and Rakic over 2.5 rounds. So, I mean, we're almost flawless on Ankalaev fights. We're almost flawless. We've got 11k profit there, 6.8k profit there, and 2.3k profit there. So you're looking at, what's that? You're looking at almost 20k profit, right? 18, 19k profit from Ankalaev fights. And I'm looking to do the same again, boys. I don't have a massive hot take like last time, right? But what I will say is that Ankalaev has a great chance of knocking out Alex Pereira in this fight. And I also think Alex Pereira has a decent chance of knocking out Magomed Ankalaev in this fight. I mean, like I said, if you want a full-length breakdown with fight footage and everything, go watch my other video after this video finishes in about 5 minutes. But what I will say, just, to make it short and sweet for you, is that Alex Pereira was landing so many low kicks on Ankalaev in that last fight. Ankalaev didn't know how to check him, didn't know what to do, right? Ankalaev just took all of those leg kicks. But who's to say he's going to take him this time? He might not take him, man. We can't guarantee he's going to take him this time. He didn't take him against Jan Blachowicz, and he cleanly lost multiple rounds of that fight. The calf kick is a weird one, boys. I said it in my other show. The calf kick is a weird one. Sometimes you can get hit with 20 calf kicks and you can keep on walking forward. Sometimes you get hit with 1 calf kick and you're effed. I'm speaking from experience as well. I've took multiple calf kicks. I spoke about this in my other video. I was training with one of the best fighters of all time. One of my trainers in Thailand. Kem sits on Pingong. He fought Sanchai 3 times, beat him once. So one of the best Muay Thai fighters ever is my trainer Kem in Thailand. And man, he hit me with some bad calf kicks. And I was all right for most of them. And then the last one he hit me with, it rendered me almost unfightable. I did finish the rounds, but man, I had to stop, and we had to stop sparring in the middle of the second round. So I think I finished that round, but then we ended up stopping sparring the second round. So I'm speaking from experience, man. I took a lot of calf kicks and it was all right. And then one hit me in the wrong place. And I was like, damn, my leg's just not working anymore. And so I really feel like Alex Pereira, although he didn't get the calf kick game hurting Ankalaev in the first fight, just for the sheer amount that he landed tells me that he may switch off Ankalaev's leg in this fight. I can't trust Ankalaev to just weather the storm of 30 calf kicks from one of the best calf kickers in the game this time around. And if he does render his leg unconscious, then it's going to be a long night for Magomed Ankalaev. Conversely, Ankalaev, this is a great one, but I really like this one. I really like this take from me. It might sound egotistical, but I really like the way I'm seeing this fight because I think a lot of people might not see this angle or the market's not seeing this angle. And I get excited when I think the market's not seeing an angle. So conversely, just like Ankalaev might not take the calf kicks, Pereira might not take the wrestling. Pereira was very close to getting taken down at one point. I believe it was in round 4. And by the way, boys, round 4 was completely dominated by Ankalaev from not takedowns, but cage push. So I think Ankalaev could just go to the cage push for 5 rounds here, you know? Ankalaev almost, so two things here. I don't know whether Pereira is going to be able to take the boxing of Ankalaev. Round 2, Pereira was on shaky legs. He was almost knocked out. Pereira has a crazy, I don't know what it is, but he has a crazy way of just getting lucky and the bell ends. He's got like fucking plot armor where the bell sounds just as he's hurt and almost getting knocked out. Happened in the Izzy kickboxing fight, happened in the Izzy first fight in MMA, and it happened in the last fight with Ankalaev. Ankalaev hurts him at the end of round 2, almost knocks him out, but then the round ends. I feel like Ankalaev may knock him out on the feet this time. Because at the end of the day, man, your chin, sometimes it can take shots, like your calf, and sometimes it just switches off. And I think Ankalaev could knock him out on the feet. Conversely, I think Ankalaev can also get takedowns here. I know he shot multiple times last time out. Let's actually see together how many times he did shot. I know he shot multiple times last time out and didn't get a takedown, right? But that doesn't mean that if he shoots multiple times this time, he's not going to get a takedown. Like I'm saying, boys, like not everything is equal, right? Like just because you couldn't take him down in the first fight doesn't mean you can't take him down in the second fight. Let's have a look at this one. So if we zoom in, boys, we got 12 takedowns by Magomed Ankalaev, and he didn't get any of them, right? But he did get 5 minutes 42 control time, even though he got no takedowns because he was able to press him up against the cage. So I don't know if Ankalaev is going to come in with a better wrestling game plan this time out. Maybe he saw that he couldn't take him down with a single, so now he really practices on double, like whatever, right? I'm sure he's going to come in with some new tricks up his sleeve. And Pereira may rely on his old takedown defense and say, look, he couldn't take me down in the first fight. He ain't going to take me down in this fight. But no two fights are the same, boys. And I could definitely see a world in which Magomed Ankalaev is able to take down Alex Pereira in this fight. And if he gets on top of him, it could be brutal. If he gets on top of him, he could dominate him from bottom position. Because while Ankalaev has shown to have not great wrestling, he is pretty good on top, man, and I think he's a lot better than Alex Pereira. So I think Alex Pereira could not only get knocked out on the feet, but also on the ground, and potentially a submission is there as well. So there's multiple moving parts here. I'm going to pick Magomed Ankalaev. I'm going to pick him via KO because I think that he can get a KO on the feet and on the ground. I think the under 4.5 rounds could be a spot in this one. At the moment, it's minus 110 pick'em. I don't really want to lay a minus money. I was hoping that because the last fight went to a decision and pretty cleanly, that they would give me a plus money on the ends inside the distance play here. So I don't know if I'm going to force a bet on the under. Maybe I will play it because I'll think about it a bit more. I'll look into it a bit more. One thing I'll say, boys, is that you've watched my whole full card breakdown, but I reserve the right to change my mind after doing more tape, doing more due diligence, letting my thoughts marinate, and speaking to a few select people that I respect, right? I reserve the right to change my mind. If you're in my VIP, you're going to know of my mind changes. I'm going to tell you with my breakdowns, my official breakdowns at the end of the week. And I'm also going to tell you with the bets we play. Because oftentimes I will change my mind and pick it and bet against who I pick. That's just what I do, boys. People get angry because there's a couple of times where, I've given out a pick on the channel and I've bet against my pick. By the way, I do that all the time. Marab Dvalishvili, Corey Sandig, and I'm picking Marab, but man, I'm betting Corey. And I say I'm picking Corey in the breakdown because I ain't going to be a pussy. And I was passionate about Corey, right? So I want to come out and pick him as well, right? But I always bet against my picks because you don't bet on who you think is going to win. As I said, you bet on where the value is, right? But I'll actually sometimes bet I'll bet the opposite of what I was thinking I might bet because I changed my mind. And I know people don't like that because they want to hear my opinion. And if they see me celebrating a bet and they're like, well, you gave the other guy out on the show, I understand how that can be frustrating. At the end of the day, boys, I don't really care. All I care about is my money, my VIP's money. I'm putting out a bunch of content all the time anyway. So yes, a couple of picks I will change every now and then. It is what it is, boys. That's part of the game. That's literally part of the game. Either you want my breakdowns or you don't. If you want them, you have to accept some picks getting changed. Like I said, you can join the VIP and understand everything, or you just don't want the breakdowns because you get too annoyed when the picks change every now and then. It is what it is, boys. That's part of the game. That's professional sports betting. You're seeing it live in the flesh here. So yeah, I am going to pick the under 4.5 rounds. I'm going to pick Ankalaev. I'm going to pick Ankalaev via KO. That's plus 400 odds at the moment. I don't think it's a bad shot. And I may take a bet on that one myself, boys. But like I said, I'm going to let my thoughts marinate for some time because we're still a week out where I am. So that's it, boys. Like I said, man, if you really want to join the team, if you really want to join the Elite Zone, the link is in the bio. You won't regret it. It'll be a great decision and you can join us, start cashing every single week. Also, make sure you subscribe, boys. It's free. You don't have to sign up to subscribe. You just click subscribe button. And I'm putting out a video almost every single day to help put cash in your pocket. So that's it, boys. Like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. Love and peace.